Welcome to the Badass Direct Sales Mastery Podcast with your direct sales dom, Jenny Bellinger. Badass Direct Sales Mastery is a podcast for rock star direct sales moms who are determined to make their business kick ass. Jenny will share her knowledge of effective sales and recruiting techniques, tips to get what you want from your business, and will interview direct sales professionals and leaders from various companies. The interviews will give insight to how these rock stars got to where they are and where they plan to grow in the future. And now, the direct sales dom, Jenny Bellinger.
Welcome back to another episode of Badass Direct Sales Mastery. I'm your host, your direct sales dom, Jenny Bellinger, helping you whip your business into shape. Today, I have with me someone who I've known for about a little over a year now. His name is Thomas Vela, and he is the vice president of strategy at Nagel and Associates. But that's not how Thomas and I met. We met because Thomas was with contact mapping. You guys probably remember those episodes with Adrian Chenault. Well, Thomas Vela worked with contact mapping, and now he's with Nagel and Associates. And he reached out to me because he has something that's going to possibly help you. Because I don't know who's listening. So I don't know if it's going to help you or not, but it might. So that's why I want to bring Thomas on today. So Thomas, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here. It's so good to finally, obviously I've been following the Badass Direct Sales Mastery for a long time. So it's really interesting to be on the other side and actually being interviewed. So I'm super excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And because when you reached out to me and you said, I have an interesting thing to talk to you about, I was like, oh, okay, I wonder what this is. And we got to talking about something that I didn't even know existed. And it's something that I think is potentially going to be very helpful for quite a few people who are listening right now. Now, I am going to say this is just for our United States listeners, FYI. So if you are not in the United States, you're welcome to listen, but it may not help you. I'm just going to say, but I wanted to get this out there. So first of all, tell us about your transition from contact mapping to Nagel and Associates, and what is Nagel and Associates?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's going to seem like, wow, that came out of left field, but Nagel and Associates is a CPA accounting firm, but Robert Nagel has been a long time proponent of contact mapping, and he's been friends with Tom Chenault for 20 some years. It's actually, he's worked with Tom, this is one of his best friends. And through the transition of contact mapping now becoming NowSite, Robert was looking at, hey, how do we do technology enablement? How do we do, we've got to really start doing accounting for the next phase where everything's coming in with AI and all of that. So I came in for that, and that's why I'm our VP of strategy. But through that, we've been trying to help out get the word out about the FFCRA program, the program that kind of brought us here today. And I reached out to you to basically be like, hey, I think this might be something that you qualify. Can we kind of use you as a test and go through all of this and see if it works? And it's been really amazing that I've been kind of going a little bit on the sales side, which is totally outside of my comfort zone. If anybody knows me from contact mapping, I was our chief product officer. I was the guy in the background helping manage all of the software development. And and I obviously, still affiliated with them, still work with contact mapping. And a lot of what we're doing here at Nagel and Associates is powered by NowSite. I love that software. I'm just blown away at what they're doing. But yeah, Robert came to me and said, hey, I need some help on this. And I just stuck my neck out there for a few people and said, hey, have you ever heard about the Families First Coronavirus Response Act? And nobody knows about this. And there are about 16 million people who are eligible for it. And I would guess that the government has seen probably less than 1% even apply for it, or even act on it, or even know about it, right?
Right.
So that is what I've been doing, is trying to get the word out there. And I went to this community because I know this community, right? Even though I was in the background of contact mapping, I love this community. I love the people who are here, in any way that I can help. I'm getting on a podcast, which especially if you've ever talked to Adrian about me, I'd always be like, here you go, Adrian. There you go. Go on be face forward. I'll be back here in the background, but we're kind of changing it up because it's that important, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was what was so interesting about our conversation when we connected, because, I was not expecting to hear from you, and, it like, oh, okay. And so when you told me about this Families First Corona Response Act, I was like, I've never heard of it. Now, I've heard of the ERC, and a lot of people who are in the world of business, and especially, any of our listeners who have actual employees, the ERC is something that you are probably familiar with. But this is something that is more on the family side, more of the entrepreneurial side. Is that right? And so for people who are more solopreneur?
Yeah, absolutely. So for you to qualify for this, you have to be self-employed. You can have an LLC or, be a sole proprietor. You cannot be an S Corp, because S Corps, you are technically an employee in that situation. So it gets a little interesting when it comes to LLC subchapter S Corp, because you're actually not self-employed at that point in the eyes of the federal government.
Right.
But if you have an LLC, if you're a sole proprietor, you're out there getting 1099s or however it is, and you have positive income on your Schedule C, there's a good chance you qualify. And just a little background about what the intention of the FFCRA was for the federal government is that a lot of people like me, through this, I had PTO through contact mapping. I was an employee there. I was able to take off time from work and not lose money. I had PTO, that Adrian is, I'm sure he loved it, but hey, if I got sick, if I had to care for somebody, I could take time off for them. Well, they understand that sole proprietors and entrepreneurs didn't have that luxury.
No.
And so basically what this does is provide you a tax credit refund for if you were sick in 2020 or 2021, if you had to care for a child in 2020 or 2021, or if you had to care for a loved one, like a parent in 2021. And I emphasize the 2021 and 20 as the government is very specific.
Yeah. Surprise. They put deadlines on things for us, right?
Yes. And the deadline for this one is coming up. And I mean, we're like, how come not more people know about this? And I will tell you, the first person we actually ran through it was a skeptic. And, we did an initial review, thought it was going to be somewhere around $2,500 that she would get back. She ended up, once we did all the qualifying days that she had to take off for to care for others and herself, ended up being just over $10,000.
Wow. That's like life-changing money for some people, I don't know about you, but I could use an extra $10,000 right now, especially with the holidays coming up. Yeah.
So
no kidding.
So, I just feel like our community is probably not told about this enough. Maybe a lot of us did TurboTax. TurboTax would not have asked you going through that. Or at least my example, I did TurboTax. I've done TurboTax. It doesn't ask me about these type of specialty programs. Especially being, the self-employed ones. I just don't think that this, does that. And a lot of accountants actually didn't go through it either. And or understand it or realized it, because a lot of them were after the FFCRA or the ERC, the ERC.
Yeah, the ERCs. Yeah.
Because honestly, if you have employees, it's a significant tax credit refund. Right. But this actually provides up to $32,220. Qualifying for that, it's harder, obviously.
Right.
And you've had to take a significant amount of time off. I would say, in my perspective, a significant amount of time off for each three of those categories throughout 2020 and 2021. But I sure as heck know a lot of people who've had to take time off.
Right. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And that's what was so interesting because, I went through the process and or at least started the process with you guys. I have no idea where we are with it right now. but it's some of the things that you brought up is, yes, you have to be self-employed. Had to have shown, that you made some money, that you didn't write off everything. Right.
Correct.
So I know in 2020 and 2021, yes, I had some positive income during that time. I did not write off all the things because reasons.
Yes.
Because I want my business to be, profitable.
Yes.
But there were some time in 2021 because where my kids got sick and I was caring for them during that time and could not work. I mean, there was literally times that I had to reschedule appointments and move things out, because of that, what was going on. So, so it sounds to me, and I didn't get sick during that time, yay, but my kiddos did. So it sounds to me like during that time, the way this works is when you have all those things in place, right, you are potentially eligible for some money.
Exactly. And so a couple of the challenges and exactly what the IRS is very backed up. They're very backed up because because of ERC, and it does take us a little bit longer. This is not going to be a over the night, even like how you might have filed your personal taxes, and you got a refund within the, couple weeks afterwards, 4 weeks after. They are backed up. They do, look at these, and it does take them time to process. They can't, I don't believe they can actually deposit it directly. So you actually have to wait for them to cut a check. And
then mail it in the snail mail. It sounds like, because if there's a physical check, then it's coming via mail.
Yeah. And I think the other downside of this is it almost sounds too good to be true. And talking with people. And so there's skepticism around it. There is such thing as tax fraud, it is a true thing that we have to, be aware of. And so when we're out there trying to talk and get the word out, it's really tough because of that skepticism. So it's a little bit slower because it's the federal government, they're inundated right now. And, you don't want to sound like a tax scam,
Right. Yeah, no, exactly. And the reason I wanted to share this with my audience, right, is because there's a good chance that, especially if they were in business with their network marketing business during 2020 and 2021. And frankly, there's a lot of people who started businesses during that time because they got laid off from their quote unquote real job, right? Or they started because I've completely watched everything on Netflix. I got nothing else to do. We're all cooking at home. Why don't I go ahead and start a business with a kitchen tools company, right? Because a lot of those companies did see about, some of them saw 300 and 400% increase in recruitment and enrollment for their company, right? So for people who wanted to start a business because they were like, we're not doing anything else. So there's a good chance that people probably actually had businesses back in 2020 and 2021. A lot of my listeners are long time in the industry in general. So this is something, hey, if you could get a few $1,000 back for the time that you spent, you getting over something, your family getting over something, and you actually physically helping them as part of it. I mean, why wouldn't you at least take the chance? And I'm willing to put my credibility on the line because I know Thomas. I've known Thomas for over a year now. I've been in his presence, human to human. He's a good guy. He's not going to lead me astray, and he's not going to lead my audience astray, right? So you guys know me. You've been listening for a while. You know I don't just go and put things like this out there that aren't good for you. So, Thomas, that's why I wanted to have you on, was to give people the opportunity to at least A, be aware of it, and B, start the process if they can. So what does it take to start the process for this?
Yes. Well, as you know, because we are starting the process with you. You have a successful business in those time frames. And really the first step to me is, going on to Nagel.Associates. So Nagel.Associates, no .com after that. It's just Nagel.Associates. And see if you qualify. There's a qualifier on there that is, it kind of walks you through the steps. But I can even tell you from right now, and that's the best way that you can get in contact with us, is going through those steps. But, if you were sick or caring for a loved one in 2020 or 2021, you got positive money on your Schedule C, and you were self-employed, you pretty much probably qualify for it. So, filling out that form and getting in touch with us. The next step is actually we then have you do a DocuSign for what's called a form, IRS form 2848. It basically allows us to pull in the information that we would need to give you an estimate of what your refund is. And that's the other thing that I really like about Nagel and Associates. We don't charge anything upfront. We are not going to, you do not have to pay us anything unless we know that you are going to get money back and you want us to do it for you. I highly suggest it. As you can see with the ERC now on a moratorium, a lot of people tried to do it themselves. That's what kind of clogged up the system for the IRS, is because they weren't done right. And so you have a better chance with a CPA firm. We know exactly what we're doing. So that's my promotion part right now. So sorry to be a little salesy on that, but it does actually matter to use a CPA firm. But you can, if you have an accountant, we're not trying to step on anybody's toes. If you have an accountant, I mean, they could probably help you out as well. I don't know how to do it online. Like me, myself, and I do actually have a finance background before contact mapping and stuff. But, I don't even know where I'd begin to do a revised 1040X or whatever it is, and where to put it, what cells to put it in. No. I'm learning though. I'm learning by watching these guys, but it still would be a difficult thing. So, even if you don't go through us, I just feel like there's so much money. If I can help out everybody in this industry that had, a refund that was coming to them, then I'm successful. I'm super happy. And if you go through us, great. We love you guys. Obviously, we're an accounting firm that has a lot of network marketers, that file their taxes with us anyways. Thank you, Tom Schnell. And for the reference and for the recommendations, but it's we're here to care for you, and we'd love to do that. We don't want to see any, unless you're going to get money, we're not charging anything. We're not, and you want to use us, you want to use us. That's when we, can do it. And the fees are as low as 4%. So, it's,
and
does
that come out of the money that, so
it can. Yeah, we have a couple different payment options. You can pay up front. You can also use PayPal to break up the payments if that feels a little bit easier for you. Most people do that, actually, is just break up the payments, and when the check comes, it just comes, and they can take it in. So otherwise, there is a small deposit, and then you can pay when the refund comes in. However works best for you. We're here to help.
That makes sense though, right? Because I don't know about you guys, but one of the most stressful times in my entire life ever, and I've gone through completely natural childbirth. One of the most stressful times in my life was doing my own taxes when I was 23 years old. And here's a good question.
Yeah.
I also, because of my self-employment status, got the PPP back in the day. Does that affect FFCRA?
No. So the PPP, the eligibility for PPP is quite different than the FFCRA.
Okay.
Usually with the PPP, I have not seen anybody have any issues. That's when I would have gone a little bit more. CPA can answer that one, but
Sure.
so far the PPP only has somewhat affected the ERC program, not the FFCRA.
Okay.
Gotcha. There's some nuances with PPP and the ERC. Once again, if you are in the ERC and you realize you're in the moratorium and don't know what to do, and we're happy to help you if you had employees and navigate that. But that's usually where I see PPP and affect a program. The FFCRA, I've not seen the PPP affect that at all.
Gotcha.
And looking at the cells that I look at, like the individual line items on it, I don't see how that would. But once again, our CPAs would be there to help you.
Right, they're the ones who know the full answer
smart
on that one.
They're so smart.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but the reason I brought that up is because I went through that PPP process with an accounting firm that I was working with at the time. I'm not currently working with them. And I will say that having someone who knew what they were doing, putting all the right stuff in the right boxes, made sure that I got the money that my business was entitled to at that time because of everything. So, hey, if you feel super comfortable going and doing it, go for it. If you have, like Thomas said, if you have an accountant that you already work with who is familiar with the FFCRA or is willing to do the work to learn more about it, great, go work with them. If not, if you're sitting here going, I have no idea, I don't know, hey, we have an option for you here. So, go check this out. As he mentioned, the link for this is Nagel.Associates. And so the link is in the show notes. For those of you who've been listening for a while, you know where the show notes are. If this is your first time listening to the show and you have no idea where the show notes are, what you're going to do is grab your phone, as long as you're not driving, click on today's episode, scroll beneath Thomas's picture, and you will see the link there where you can go ahead and get the process started if this is something that you want to see, if you qualify for. Because if you do, fantastic. Yay. We helped you out a little bit. And that's the purpose of this whole podcast. That's why I put this out there, is because I want to be able to help people. And this is potentially going to help a number of the audience, the badass crew. And that's what I want. So putting this out there so you guys have this opportunity. So Nagel.Associates, Nagel.Associates, and then start the process. So is there a button on the page that says FFCRA or?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
Once you're on that page, you'll see it and go straight from there. It's a pretty seamless process to get in touch with us. It's very seamless to fill out that 2848. I mean, it took you 1 minute to fill it out? Maybe?
Very short and sweet. It was super easy.
And now we're in the hands of the government. Which, should be really quick here, because we started this a little bit ago, last week or whatever. So, and it's the same for me too. Like, I love this community. I've, been a part of this community now for a couple years, and it just, I want to help. And I know how much this can change and help people during the holidays. It can help during, whatever it is. And if we can get them refunded as quickly, but, still knowing that you have some money on the way can really help. And why just leave it out there? It's really money that is owed to you, because it is hard to be self-employed. Both my brothers, we worked with both my brothers on this too. And funny enough, one of them was like, "Oh no, let me see if I can do this and fill out the information." Next week he called me up. He's like, "You're right. How about you guys help out?" So I mean, I come from a long history of self-employed folks in my family, and so I think I have a little and just loving this industry that we're in, or I still feel that I'm a part of. It's just been huge to me, and that's why I'm here.
I love it. Yeah, and badass crew, I want you to realize when he says this industry, he's talking about direct sales, network marketing, MLM, because contact mapping, if you haven't listened to that episode, if you haven't been paying attention to the contact mapping stuff, It is a technology that was developed specifically for network marketers and direct sellers and multi-level marketing professionals. So that's why he feels like he's a part of the community, because he's been serving our community for years now. So, to be able to get out there and get this information out there and possibly help some people, because right now with everything going on, I know there's a lot of people who are hurting, and this could really help. And especially if you can use this to help your family with the holidays, or use it to reinvest in your business, reinvest in, in your moving forward, do it. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? Because this could be absolutely huge. So, Thomas, I so appreciate you reaching out to me and trusting me with this information to get it out to at least my audience. So I really, really appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing how we can help some people.
Yeah, I just thank you so much. I love you, and just amazing person who I've got to have some, really cool special moments with. Might have been with mezcal, who knows? And
there might have been some mezcal included in those special times, right?
Exactly. And I love you and your group, and thank you so much.
Oh, absolutely. You are definitely welcome. So one more time for the Badass Crew, go check the show notes. If you want some more information, you want to check this out, start the process, reach out to Thomas if you want to. Is there a way for them to contact you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you guys, you can go to the Nagel Associates, and almost anybody who fills out a form, it's going to go through me. I'm going to see that. But I mean, reach out to me on Facebook. I mean, Jenny and I are friends on there. You can find me on there. It's Thomas Vela, V as in Victor, ELA. Reach out to me on Facebook. I whatever means you find, I'm out there. My information, I think, is pretty darn public. So, having worked in this industry for so long, reach out to me. I'm also at Thomas at restcpa.com. So restcpa.com. You can reach me out there.
Absolutely. So if you have some questions, you want to chat with Thomas about this program and see how it might help, or see maybe you have your own organization. Maybe you're a 7-figure leader in a network marketing company, and you've got thousands of people under you who this could help, and you want to get him in front of your people. I highly recommend bring him, do a Facebook Live in your group with your organization, so those people can learn more about it too. So, Thomas, thank you again for being here. I really appreciate you. And Badass Crew, you know how this goes. Stay tuned, because there's another badass episode on its way.
Thanks for listening to the Badass Direct Sales Mastery Podcast with your direct sales dom, Jenny Bellinger. Why are you waiting to go to badassdirectsalesmastery.com? Don't make the dom get her whip. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to share it with another rock star that you know in direct sales after you subscribe to the podcast, so you won't miss any future episodes. You can also check out the show notes for links and any contact information mentioned in today's episode. We'll see you next time.